Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, council, staff, residents, and delegates to the regular meeting of the Municipality of Marmorant Lake Council for Tuesday, October the 1st, 2024, and we are being streamed live. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. And first on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations, whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Eric?
I would like to declare conflict with agenda item 5.2, delegation from Barbara Davies, the Girl Guides Marmora unit regarding facility rental. And this is because I'm a parent of a child who participates in the program and is a member of the Marmora Girl Guides unit.
Thank you, Eric. Duly noted by the clerk. Next, we need a motion that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmorant Lake for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 be approved as presented. Mover Ron, second Mike. Any discussion on that agenda? Being none. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. At this time, I would like to welcome and introduce our interim CAO, Yvonne Robert. Welcome, Yvonne. This is just a brief overview, and I think you can see it has been a very busy summer. August the 9th, I presided over the special meeting of council. August 17th, I attended the Heart of Hastings annual butterfly fundraising event. I volunteered to hand out butterflies. The Madoc Lions Club provided a barbecue. Staff made presentations on the various activities and services provided through hospice. On behalf of myself and council, I thank them and the volunteers for the services they provide to our communities. August the 18th, I presided over a special meeting of council with Waterhouse Recruitment Services to proceed with the recruitment process to hire a new CAO. August the 19th to the 21st, I attended the AMO conference in Ottawa. And at that conference on August the 20th, I was invited to present as a panelist on a plenary session regarding the Board of Health merger initiative that is currently in progress. August the 22nd, I attended the regular Planning and Development, Finance, Property, and Personnel Committee meetings at Hastings County. That afternoon, I participated in a meeting with the Ministry of Health to discuss the progress in receiving approval to proceed with the proposed Board of Health merger. August the 26th, Deputy Mayor Stevens and I met as the Personnel Committee to discuss the future plans to hire an Arena Parks and Recreation and Facilities Manager. August 27th, I attended the office to sign documents and meet with representatives of Red Brick Communications to prepare a press release regarding present issues within the municipality. August the 28th, Tammy May and I presented new business certificates. August 29th, I attended the regular Hastings County Council meeting. September 3rd, I presided over a special closed council meeting. September the 4th, I chaired the regular Hastings Prince Edward Board of Health meeting. September 5th, I presided over the special meeting of council and participated in interviews to recruit an interim CAO. September the 6th and 9th, I attended the office to sign documents. September the 10th, I attended the office to welcome Yvonne Robert, our interim CAO, and introduce her to staff and tour the public works facilities. September 13th, I was invited to attend Crescent Care Long-Term Care Facility to celebrate Community Engagement Day. Jennifer McKay and her team gave a tour of the facility and presented the programs and services they provide. We are so fortunate to have this home-like environment for our local residents. On behalf of myself and council, I thank them for the services they provide to the community and the quality of life they contribute to their residents. September the 15th at 10 o'clock, I attended the Terry Fox Run and offered our thanks and support to the organizers. Ernie Hamilton, and Lloyd and Wendy Bateman, the entertainment, and all volunteers. Thank you to the Lions Club for their generous donation to the Terry Fox Fund and the barbecue they provided. Thank you to everyone who made a donation, who came out to support the efforts made by our volunteers and participants. That afternoon, I attended the Curling Club AGM and congratulated them on receiving funding in the form of a grant from the Trillium Foundation. The money is being used to upgrade the fire alarm system to be compliant with current regulations. September the 17th, I attended the regular Planning and Development and Finance, Property and Personnel Committee meetings at Hastings County. That afternoon, I attended a meeting of the Central Hastings Support Network in Madoc. September 18th, I attended the office to sign documents. September 20th, I attended a meeting with MPP Rick Brissy, the warden, and local mayors to discuss the operation of the Central Hastings Transit Service. September 23rd, I participated in a meeting with Hastings County staff and the CAO to discuss upcoming union negotiations. September 24th, a special meeting of council was called to conduct interviews for the position of Arena Parks and Recreation and Facilities Manager. At 5:30, I attended the COPE AGM and offered appreciation and thanks on behalf of Marmor Lake. COPE is the organization that provides support to our residents who have special needs. This organization is governed by a board of directors. Christine Spencer is the executive director. The team, being the board, Christine, and her staff and volunteers, serve about 80 people in the local communities of Madoc, Tweed, Marmor Township, Marmor, and Lake. They have varying needs, from some who attend the facility on a regular and daily basis to participate in programs and organize sports and trips, to others who receive assistance in day-to-day life skills and help at home so they can remain independent. September 26th, I attended the regular meeting of Hastings County Council. At 4 o'clock that day, I attended the annual meeting of the Ministry of the Environment reporting on the DeLauro cleanup and future proposed cleanup of Youngs Creek and surrounding area. There will be more information on that project when plans have been finalized. September 27th, I presided over a special meeting of council to discuss applications for the CAO position and determine a short list to be interviewed. October 1st at 5:30, I presided over the regular planning meeting, and tonight is the regular meeting of council. I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I understand there has been concern over the number of closed meetings during the past month. Council is responsible and required to ensure confidentiality regarding identifiable individual union negotiations, legal proceedings, etc. The meetings have been held to progress toward hiring a manager for the Arena Parks and Rec and Facilities, and firstly an interim CAO, then moving forward to a full-time CAO and other operational matters of a confidential nature. Every effort has been made to be as transparent as we are legally allowed to be. Decisions involving more than 3 council members require a duly executed council meeting, and therefore each time there are interviews or discussions of a confidential nature, a formal open meeting must be called to then proceed into a closed meeting in accordance with the Municipal Act and our current policies, procedures, and bylaws. Thank you for your patience and understanding. When final decisions have been made, we will issue an announcement and a media release. I would also like to thank staff at this time. Staff have gone over and above to work together as a team to ensure that municipal services have continued in spite of summer vacations and staff shortages. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
On the agenda are the
Mayor O'Neill.
delegations.
Just one housekeeping item. The motion regarding the regular meeting of council on October 1st, the recommendation was not, you didn't say whether it was carried or lost.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
The approval of the agenda resolution. You did ask for a mover and a seconder, and I believe there was a vote, but you didn't.
All in favor?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Back up, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Yvonne. Next is delegations. Debbie Birch regarding the 2025 farmers market. Is Debbie here? Welcome, Debbie. Please, remember to put your mic on. This. No, it didn't come on. No. Press. No, it's not on. There you go.
Okay.
It's on. Welcome, Debbie. Please
Hi.
proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and municipal staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak as a delegate at this meeting. My name is Debbie Birch, and I am the owner of Sweet City Woman, Debbie's Cupcakes and More, residing in Marmarin Lake. My business is Hastings Prince Edward Public Health Certified and fully insured. I'm here tonight to ask for your consideration, support, and permission to use the public parking lot on Highway 7 and Birchall Street beside the Marmor Guardian Pharmacy on Saturdays to reestablish the seasonal Marmor Farmers Market. Previous permission by council was granted to use the lot on Saturdays. I will be taking over managing the market from the previous organizer. Although the market had closed down midsummer, I have continued to be on the lot every Saturday, insured and with much support from local residents and businesses. I will ensure that the property remains in its original state when our event concludes each week, and insurance requirements will be enforced and submitted to the municipality. I have to date 7 vendors that are eager to come back and have further determined, based on the size of the lot, that there is indeed room to advertise and attract approximately 10 more additional vendors. I would like the opportunity to bring the farmers market back to Marmor during high peak tourism months for our permanent and seasonal residents. I am requesting council to grant me permission to use the public lot from May to October from 8 to 2 each year. The market will be open and inclusive to other small entrepreneurs that want to do business here in beautiful and thriving Marmor and Lake. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thanks. Anyone have any questions for Debbie? Ron?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'd like to recommend a staff report would be including the site plan as well as insurance verification.
Thank you, Ron. Eric? Are you making that a motion, Ron, or do you want to
Well,
hear other comments
recommendation,
first?
I just would like to know, like to have a site plan for what they're gonna do as well as the insurance. So yes, I guess it is a motion.
You want to make a motion?
Sure.
You need a seconder to debate it?
For clarification, is that a motion then to approve the use of the space given
Yes.
that is provided?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will second that motion. I'd just like to thank Debbie for taking the work, putting the initiative in to get this back up and going. I think the community really sees the value in it. And I know you've been there all along and been an ambassador for the market as well. So thank you for stepping up to continue the market. My only question, I guess, just for clarification for the public, there's been some discussion around the previous market and what the rules were in terms of who was allowed into the market and who wasn't, and competing vendors. Can you speak to what your policy would be on that?
There is no policy for that. My market will be open to anybody that wants to join and pay for their insurance beforehand. If they're a full-time vendor, I want the insurance in before the season starts. If they're a pop-up vendor, I want the insurance given to me before Friday or before Thursday, so I can submit it to the town hall on Friday before 4 o'clock for anybody that wants to be part of the market. Anybody that is selling food, they need to have a certified kitchen health inspected to be a part of the market if they're selling open food to the market. So I've done my homework. I've talked to the Farmers Market of Ontario. I've spoken with Duo Insurance on numerous occasions in regards to the insurance and to get the best rate for the vendors. And I have gotten it down to $6 a week per vendor. As provided that they pay their $25 annual fee to the Farmers Market of Ontario for vendor membership. So I've done my homework.
Thank you. Great work.
Anybody else, Mike?
Thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. Is there a limited number of spaces that you can accommodate over at the market? You said you had room for 10 more.
Yeah, I'm
First come,
hoping to
first
fit
served.
18 in there is what my hopes are. I've got 7 vendors that want to return and pay their insurance. I've talked to a few people in the area in regards to them joining if they're interested in coming to be a part of our market. It will be fully advertised come the new year for the extra open spots that are available. And, I plan on approaching people that were denied to say, hey, we're open for you to come to our market. I'm not holding back for anybody. I've established myself there and with the customers and the people of Marmora, and, anybody else that wants to come and establish themselves are more than welcome to it.
So is it first come, first served?
It
then
will be on the
till you
list,
reach the
yes. I
limit?
mean, we can't obviously have 5 people produce, like we can't fill the market with just all produce. So, I mean, I will do my best to accommodate for everybody on the list
In different
and in different categories, but we can have multiple.
Yeah, I understand. When farmer market closed before, I found that was very common amongst farmer market associations that they didn't want to have like 15 vegetable producers and only 2 other people there.
Right.
So there was a limited amount of.
So I want
variety.
to be very versatile. I would like a nice
Okay.
variety of people, vendors at our market. And yes, that policy is a policy that stands. I myself have tried to get into the Christmas market for 5 years here in Marmora, and you can't because I'm a baker and they already have a baker. Hence why this is making me more determined to go ahead and try and get this market going and show people that, you can have more than one baker, So, right? Like I took a lot of slack this summer for it and, I was treated unfairly and I'm put that behind me and I would like to go forward and get this market up and going again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I just want to say that this is good timing because it gives you some time and gives us some time to review your
Right.
proposal. And so you'll work with staff and staff will come back with a report.
Okay, then. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next,
There is a motion on the table
oh, right.
to grant the permission and to move forward with a site plan and an
Okay.
agreement.
So is everybody okay with that motion? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Barbara Davies, Girl Guides Marmora Unit Leader regarding facility rental. Welcome, Barbara.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm not quite sure what to say at this point. I need to have a letter, but apparently that's not been approved. So
Can you just talk into the mic a little bit better? I'm having
Sure.
trouble hearing you.
I'm just saying I'm not too sure what to say at this point because I did write a letter and it was deemed not approved. So either ways, I'd just like to introduce myself, Barbara Davies. I've been the contact leader for the Marmora Girl Guides for close to 20 years here in Marmora. And we've been very fortunate to be able to use the arena that entire time, free of charge. And during those 20 years, we have never yet to have had to write out a contract or book it with anybody in particular or anything that you would deem official, as you would now. And yeah, I understand that in times things change and we definitely have to be open to those changes. But, in the past, it was a communication between me and the Parks and Rec manager and those after him that I dealt with mostly. Either way, at this point, I'm frustrated that it hasn't been communicated to me that there were changes due to the booking policies that have changed. I don't even know when they changed, and nobody has certainly told me yet when they changed. And then I have since been told when I inquired recently that they not only changed, but also the fees went from $0 to $40 an hour. Of course, as you can imagine, my surprise when I found out literally a week before my girls start this year's unit that our space had been booked to another organization. And from what I understand, almost immediately after we left in the spring. I'm just surprised because after 20 years, I don't know too many people in this community that don't know that we were in there and have always been in there on Tuesday nights. It would have been nice if somebody had contacted me to see if we were going to return. Considering our unit is currently fundraising for our 4th interprovincial trip, it would be very unlikely that we're not going to be returning. I have no problem dealing with change, as I know this, our community is a business just as any other business, and things have to change. And obviously, we have to be welcoming of some change. My question is, why wasn't I informed? And my request at this point is to be returned to the arena as quickly as possible. And I do understand that the gentleman, Greg Magwood, is in there now. He's a wonderful man. I have no issue with him. He's in there and he has clients in there. So obviously I do understand that I will have to wait, sadly, for him to be done this season. So my request is to return as soon as this season is over for him and us to continue to be met at the arena. Why am I strongly for returning to the arena? Probably because it is the greatest space that we can have. It is very secure, and the girls feel safe. There's no traffic of strangers walking through. I mean, there's the odd one that wants to view hockey, but we're good with that. There's a large area, there's large bathrooms, there's kitchen, which we use all of which. We have currently 25 girls attending, and to do it in any smaller of a space, it's a lot. They are very excited and they range from age 5 to 18, and that's a lot to do in a smaller space. In the meantime, I will obviously find a space if, we can't agree on something now. But yes, my request is to return to the arena as quickly as possible. And as for the fees, $40 an hour is, I believe, to be unreasonable for a nonprofit to be paying. Yes, we're using your facilities and we're using your electricity and staff. And so, yes, I believe we should be paying something. But I don't believe, should be paying the same thing as a organization making a profit from that space, or an organization just using it for the night. We're a nonprofit organization that gives back to the community as much as we possibly can by Pitch in Canada, picking up garbage every year, to planting trees and flowers, to opening these girls to better ideas of not just career choices, but to, get them out in the world, in the community, and teach them a lot more that they're not learning now. So I feel like we're giving back to the community already, and for us to be paying the full price of $40 an hour is unreasonable. I would offer and hope that you would agree that half of that would be reasonable for us, and we'd be willing to pay that. So I don't know really what else you want me to say, but I do hope you can come up to an agreement. Obviously, we're open for discussion, but at this point, we're just so saddened to see that our space has been removed from us without even any consultation to us. Like, nobody spoke to me about it. Nobody asked me anything. They just, all of a sudden, I would have showed up on our first day with 25 kids, only to find Magwood in there with his students, which would be very uncomfortable for both of us. The staff there had, we've been in communication, and everything there had not been indicated to me that there were changes. the past CAO had written to me stating that everything would go as it always has, almost word for word. So I had no reason to suspect anything had changed.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Barbara? Go ahead, Yvonne.
If I may suggest to council that staff be instructed to provide a report regarding the request to be considered at your next meeting, which is the 15th of October.
Can I get a seconder? Somebody want to make that a motion? Jane, second by Mike. Any further questions for, go ahead, Jane?
Will this staff report include communications with Girl Guides Canada? And how do they handle space rental and any accommodations?
It certainly can.
Good, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I just have one. Were you offered other locations as an alternative?
I've been offered many locations, some of which have put us into a very interesting position. There was an establishment within our community who offered their space to us freely, and which was very generous of them. But then I found out later by news reports that that would not have been a safe environment for my girls, so I will not be going there. Yes, we were also offered the Catholic school. My reasoning for not wishing to be there is Girl Guides in the last couple of years have been greatly emphasizing the fact that they are a secular organization, meaning we cannot do heart-shaped crafts in February because they're going to deem that a Valentine's Day craft. I cannot do crafts that have any, remote linkage to Christmas or Halloween or many other religious events because it is a secular organization. So I'm confused as why it would be approved by Girl Guides that we would be allowed to be in a church or a Catholic school. So to me, in hopes to remain secular as we are, which is irrelevant of my personal beliefs of that, I think it would be best if we avoided that, We've the office staff has also been generous enough to offer us the William Shannon room. And I said the only way that would work is if we use the basement as well, where they do playgroup. That would allow my unit to split in the age groups, 2 age groups up and 2 age groups down. The only problem with that is if I have one of my leaders that are sick, that means I've got one leader up or down with a large group of girls by herself, and that's not wise, right? And the William Shannon room is by far too small for all of us to be in at one time. So at this point, yes, we would definitely, the arena is the best possible option, which is why we've been there for close to 20 years now. I understand that in the meantime, while I'm waiting for us to return, we're going to have to make some adjustments and, may have to take a smaller space or a space that we're not happy with. But at this point, I have indicated to all parties that have offered me space that I wanted to speak with you and the council to see what we can come up with in the meantime. And so obviously, judging by tonight, I will decide maybe tomorrow where we'll have to be for the rest of the year, because we cannot continue, going outside. We've been doing campfires and all that, and that's great, but it's getting dark early and it's getting colder, and that's not going to last. We would normally have been meeting today, but we have canceled our meeting tonight so I can speak with you.
Thank you. I just want to say that, and I believe I can speak on behalf of all of council. We truly support the Girl Guides. There's no question. It's a wonderful organization. I went to Girl Guides in Marmora. Excuse me. We will do our best to make it a good decision in the end. I believe that the motion that's been put on the floor in terms of having our staff bring forth a report that brings all the information to the surface so that the right decision can be made and to support the guides as much as we possibly can, because that
appreciate
is
that.
our intention.
Thank you.
And thank you for your contribution over the years to the Girl Guides. And please keep up the good work. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other comments, Ron?
Yeah, just a question. If we come to an agreement with this report, is another night usable for you, like other than a Tuesday?
I
night?
did look at that, because the Legion also offered us space, but Tuesday nights are not offered, because it's already booked.
Right,
And that was my other frustration, is the fact that I learned about this so late,
Right.
all the other avenues have been taken. But the Legion did offer another night. Unfortunately, my unit has 4 leaders, which were generous to have. But if I changed a night, I would lose a leader. Therefore, I would have to lose kids because you have to stay within ratio. So changing the night is actually not
not an
possible.
option.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, go ahead, Mike.
I understand your frustration, but I have, we've rented it out to a gentleman already, and the way I look at, I really support Girl Guides, but I wouldn't turf somebody out if they don't want to go.
I agree.
So-
And I wouldn't expect you to
You
do
got
that
it.
to Greg. He's a
Good.
good man
Thank
and
you.
he's offering a good service as well.
So, even if we had the arena, it's still not going to be available Tuesday nights, as far as I know, going forward. So somebody's got to give one way or the other.
May I also take note that Greg is in there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So he's taking up 3 nights of the arena. And
True,
to my
that-
knowledge,
that-
which is.
Sorry, it's
little.
irrelevant whether.
Oh,
it's or
I
not.
realize
Yeah,
that.
he booked it and your young lady over there is being very disrespectful. Is that your daughter?
I apologize for that.
Yes. She can shake her head all she wants, but it's
I-
just making me upset more than not to go with this way. So
I think at this point, it's been
If
mentioned
there's
to
any
me.
further disruption, we'll stop the meeting.
It has been mentioned to me that Greg Magwood would be willing to change the time slots on some of his groups. I have not had the pleasure to speak to him directly about this. I feel that that is not my position too either. In fact, Girl Guides of Canada would like to leave that in your hands. So I don't know if he's willing to move the groups that he has on Tuesday nights to another time slot, or if that's even possible for him. All I'm asking is the next possible time where he is not in there, that we would be deemed in there permanently until further notice.
So that will be dealt with by staff in their report. They will take that into consideration. And so that report will be brought back to our next council meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Barbara. Next on the agenda is public input for council consideration. Public input is time set aside on each agenda of each regular meeting to permit anyone in attendance to speak on any issue in this agenda. Presentations will be limited to 3 minutes. Public input will be received by council only. Comments or clarification by the public or councilors are permitted. Speakers may not speak disrespectfully of any council member, staff member, or any other person, and must not use offensive words or gestures. Is there anyone that wishes to speak under public input? Cynthia?
Good evening. I just have, I'm wondering if you could maybe correct your record. You talked about the Terry Fox run and you indicated that it was Lloyd and Wendy Bateman and it's actually Lloyd and Wendy McCoy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just,
Wendy Bateman, I know.
so just
I
so the
am so
record
sorry,
reflects the right name.
Wendy McCoy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak under public input? Being none, we'll move on to the minutes. Recommendation. It's the minutes of the regular meeting of council for the municipality of Marmora Lake for August the 6th, 2024. That the foregoing minutes of the regular meeting of the council of the municipality of Marmora Lake held August the 6th, 2024 be approved as presented. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Eric, second Mike. Any discussion on those minutes? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Minutes of the special regular meetings of the council of the municipality of Marmora Lake for August the 9th, 14th, and 18th, and September 3rd and 5th. And the recommendation is that the foregoing minutes of the special regular meetings of the council of the municipality of Marmora Lake held August 9th, 14th, 18th, September 3rd, and September 5th be approved as presented. And I have a mover and a seconder, Ron and Jane. Any discussion on those minutes? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Business arising out of the minutes, notice of motion, Jane.
I have a notice of motion concerning the curling club, whereas an agreement between the curling club and the municipality of Marmora Lake was enacted prior to this council, that the agreement is supplied for council and the public for the benefit and understanding of all parties involved.
So you're making that a
making
motion.
that
Can I get a
motion.
seconder for that motion? Eric? Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Oh, did you want to speak to it? Jane?
I would just like to say that I know as a counselor, I have access to this. So I will be looking at it, but it's also, I think because we have a lot of new people coming into the municipality, that not everybody is always aware of the agreements that we have with these entities in the municipality. And I think by having it presented in the minutes, it brings it back into the public eye.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried. No, oh. Okay. Sure, we'll do that. We'll pull it up a little closer here. Thanks. Next, go ahead, Jane.
Okay, another motion, read the Fair Board Agreement, whereas an agreement between the Fair Board and the municipality of Marmora Lake was enacted prior to this council. That the agreement is supplied for council and the public for the benefit and understanding of all parties involved.
So you're making that a motion.
I'm making that motion.
Seconder for that motion. Eric? Any questions or comments on that recommendation and motion? Jane?
I would just like to say that I'm making that for the same reason that I made it for the curling club as well, for everybody to have to see the Fair Board Agreement should they wish.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think that's a pretty good idea because a lot of things, these agreements are, especially the Fair Board, are quite old. So there's probably things that we need to change and now the fair is not active, things like that, but there's probably some changes that need to happen anyway. So it's probably good housekeeping.
Thank you.
Good. Anybody else? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Jane. Next, our staff reports. Victor Reed, Manager of Environmental Services, regarding Booster Park Hydro Upgrades contract. And the recommendation is that council receive this report for information and approval, and further that council approve Kerr Electric Contracting Limited to complete the required hydro upgrades at Booster Park for $60,878.50 plus HST. And I have a mover and a seconder, Ron and Eric. Any questions, Ron?
Kayla, can I ask you, do you know what the amperage is now that it's increased to?
I don't have that information. I could ask for you though.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Any, go ahead, Eric.
It's just congrats to Kurt. It's nice to see a local Marmon Lake business bid on one of our jobs and be awarded.
Thanks. Anyone else? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, Kayla McLean, Manager of Compliance, notice of violation. The recommendation is that council receive this report for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Mike, second, Jane. Any questions or comments on that report? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Kayla. Committee and board reports, Marmon Lake Public Library, Jane. The minutes of June 20th, 2024. And the Economic Development Advisory Committee, minutes of June 26th and July 31st. And Quinte Waste Solution, EDAC minutes for June 26th and July 31st. And the Quinte Waste Solutions, the minutes of July 15th. And the recommendation is that the foregoing minutes and reports of the committees and boards listed are hereby received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Eric and Mike, do any of you want to speak to any of those minutes? Eric?
Sure, I'll just speak to the Economic Development Advisory Committee minutes, just to make the public aware that Marmon Lake has a new tourism and business website that was worked on through the summer student in that department, as well as Tammy May. That website is visitmarmonlake.ca. It features community info, a business directory of all the Marmon Lake businesses, calendar of community events, and a local attraction map. This is something, thank you as well to the members of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. This website was presented to the group a few times and they were able to go through it, provide feedback, recommendations. So the final website is now live and available to the public.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else want to speak to any of those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Next is correspondence for direction and information. Amanda Fagg Community Care for Central Hastings regarding Lions Hall fee waiver request. And we need a motion from council to provide direction to staff. Can I get somebody to make a motion, Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to support this request and grant them use of the facility at no cost.
Can I get a seconder? Mike? Any discussion? Eric?
So I'll just provide a bit of background. We obviously have the letter that's here as part of the agenda package. I have spoken to them. This is a not-for-profit group that provides, is looking to provide a social gathering for seniors in the community and those with disabilities. The use of this space, they are non-for-profit and run by volunteers. They're doing the same thing in Tweed, Sterling, and Madoc. All of those communities have granted them use of the facility, so they're not paying in any other locations. Being wheelchair accessible with a lot of their users, attendees needing either an elevator or using a walker or wheelchair, use of that space is very important to them. They had polled all of the surrounding communities, and Marmon Lake showed them, the residents here showed the most interest in participating in their social event. So they had 17 people that are already signed up for the first one here, and they expect 20 to 25. Because of the timing of this request right now, their first event that was planned for October, they are holding that at a different location because it wasn't enough notice for them. So that leaves them 5 uses of the facility for the rest of the year. I'd like to point out that although, yes, we do have facility cost and staff time involved in this. All of the remaining dates that they're requesting are in the middle of the day, and once the arena is back open, we will have staff on site. We're not having to send staff there after hours to meet this request.
Thanks, Eric. Mike?
This seems to be a recurring theme that we have. We have one end of the spectrum, children down here, and the other end of the spectrum, seniors up here. And we have a lot of great organizations in the municipality. I would like to see us maybe going forward where we come up with some, I know we have a bylaw, fees bylaw and things like that. But I think we need a little more give and take on it. We're getting too many requests. I've seen 2 requests in the last little while, and both of them have had availability of other funds coming from other places that would help them out. So I don't know whether we should be working with those people to try to reduce rates for certain groups that are very community oriented or contribute a great amount. But the problem is where do you draw the line, and who does what, and how much is their contribution worth to the municipality to waive fees? Because again, some of the people that we do have extra costs because groups stay late at night till 10, 11 o'clock. That requires our staff to work overtime. Other groups use it more often, and it could be a whole day long thing on a weekend, which again is going to be overtime. So there is significant costs to the municipality. But I feel we've got to come up with some way that we can accommodate some of these crests, whether we subsidize it to a certain amount, or we do it for free, or we charge them full freight. I don't know. But it's getting very, I don't know. I'd like to see a lot of these groups attend and get things done. And if the money's going to be a big obstacle, we're going to have to do something different. I know this is not part of this here, but I think going forward, we've got to have a study done by staff and something. That's just my comments regarding this.
Ron?
Yeah, I totally agree, Mike. This is going to keep coming, and there's a lot of good groups out there, non-for-profit and otherwise, and we need to sit down as a council and staff and do a report. Or I don't know how we're going to do this because there's a lot of variables here, but there's a lot of good organizations out there. I'm sorry you can't hear me. Out there that aren't charging and they're being hurt by this. So I'm with you, Mike. We need to do something. I just don't know what that is going to be.
Whether it's free or we charge half price or 3/4
Something.
price, whatever they can afford or whatever's going forward, something. There's got to be a way to work around it. There's got to be a way of, I know some places you go to, people pay it forward. I know there's a couple places, hospitals and that, and there are cafeterias where people come in and they'll leave an extra $10. And staff say, what's that for? Well, it's for somebody comes in and they don't have any money. Well, they can buy a sandwich or a cup of coffee and they take it out of the kitty. But people are doing that all the time. And then the person, I know one place, the lady had no money. She came back 2 weeks later and gave the staff $20 to pay up for somebody else. So what goes around comes around. Groups can help other groups, and the government's got grants and funds out there too that some of these groups could get, and that could pay for part of it. I don't know. There's got to be a solution somewhere.
Jane, go ahead.
I know that as we've been talking about organizations and that the organizations wanting to rent facilities without paying or paying part price, I know that with our fee bylaw that we have kind of boxed ourselves into a corner. I do, however, recall that about 5 to 6 months ago, there was a conversation where it was recorded that we are going to be looking into perhaps setting up a fund. We were discussing this at a council meeting, that we were going to discuss fund where where the groups could apply to the fund that would go towards helping to offset the cost for the rental of the facilities. So I'm hoping that,
Ron?
that'll be revisited.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm
Ron?
done.
Yeah, I agree with James. Well, I just wonder if, I'm just sitting here wondering if with council and possibly some type of a town hall meeting or something where you get a sense of the community and what they need and the needs and how much they need. I don't know. There's a lot to take in. But I think we need to move forward on it. And I'm just wondering, you hear these town hall meetings and maybe that would give us information that we don't have.
I would just like to say that from my perspective, I think that the fee schedule and bylaw was applied inconsistently previous to us having the most current fee schedule bylaw, which we approved at budget time. I can't justify giving away free space and where it costs the municipality, like the minute you turn the lights on, run the water, when we're charging our residents 10% plus increase in taxes, that then we can be selective as to who gets something for free or not. I think that we need to apply our fee schedule as what was approved in the budget. And if we want to revisit it, then the time to do that is in budget time when we're reviewing the fee schedule. And up until then, I think just out of fairness, because other organizations have come to us and we've denied them the use, or not denied them the use, but we've charged them the fee and they've paid it. And I just think we have to be consistent. I don't think that we should be selective, because unless it's benefiting all residents of Marmarin Lake, all taxpayers, I think when we're using taxpayers' dollars to supplement all of these functions, I think we have to be mindful of that. So my personal vote is to be consistent in the application of funding it. And maybe to your point, Jane, maybe when budget time comes around, we consider having a fund that different groups can apply to be supplemented or to offset the cost. So anybody else have, oh, go ahead, Eric.
I would just suggest a large percentage of our population are seniors. Events like this are some of the only times that they're able to get out and socialize with others. It's about mental health and general well-being. This is a not-for-profit group. There's zero cost to those wanting to attend, and it is run by volunteers. So I just remind council of that. I agree. I think this is something that eventually that we need to develop a formal policy on that we can apply. But I would hate to see another event or group not exist anymore, the event not happen because we've denied them that request. It's our own fault that the policy is what it is and it hasn't been updated when we've run into this so many times already.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they're not going to hold the event here till the new year. So that gives us time to rethink that as part of our budget process to accommodate their future dates. Any other comments? Ron?
Yeah, that's fine. I hear what you're saying. I just want to make sure that come budget time, this doesn't slip through the cracks and we push it on another year, because obviously there's a need here. We see it, we hear about it. And in some cases, it doesn't look good. So I just want to make sure we don't miss this at budget time.
Eric?
That's when we're gonna do it.
I would suggest we might, given that they've already, so October was the event that they were supposed to just have, that they've rebooked somewhere else. So January 15th is their next meeting, the next planned event. Many of these seniors need to arrange transportation, so they need fair notice, and we're kind of only going to be getting into budget at that time. So if council is amenable to it, maybe modify my motion then to grant them use for at least the 15th of January, so they can have that. And then once we get into budget time for March, April, May, September, November, then we have a policy by that point.
Go ahead, Jane.
I would be amenable to amending the budget, oh my goodness, to amending the motion for January 15th and March 12th, because I don't believe we'll be in a sufficient place with budget talks to be looking at this in March.
It doesn't mean that we can't amend the fee schedule prior to that with some study or some input and a preparation of a staff report. The fee bylaw and schedule can be amended, sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking, you know, in the interim, if a non-for-profit group comes before council and we could discuss, we can do the very same thing again if we want to.
Eric?
I think we just need to keep in mind this specific request. Where we've always ran into issues before is defining what not-for-profit is. Is it an event that has an admission fee or not? Is there a cost involved? And then making the differentiation between a Marmora and Lake not-for-profit and a general not-for-profit, where an example is MacFest, where they've came to us and requested use of our facility at no cost. So again, we don't have a policy yet. We need to just look at this on an individual basis and recognize that this is a benefit to senior residents in the community.
Ron?
Yeah, that's what I mean, Eric, is look at an individual event, and till we get it set in place, that's what we can do. Because there'll be more, I'm sure.
Mike?
I find it difficult because we often get up, you know, who should get it for free, who shouldn't get it for free, what do they do? There's a lot of groups in town that do a lot of work in town. And if we didn't have them, it would cost the municipality more money and we'd have to raise taxes to do what they do and provide the services that they do provide. You know, but that being said, until we have something hard, and it's hard to have something hard and fast because you always have exceptions. And the problem with exceptions are, if I do it for you, I should do it for the next person and the next person and the next person. And pretty soon you're doing it for everybody, no matter who they are. And you either, if you stop everybody from doing it, then we have to have some mechanism where we can refer those people to someplace else, or there is a fund that they can get some money from to subsidize their rental fees before it costs anybody else. Because there is a lot of people in this municipality that don't use any of these facilities. And these facilities, our arena, to be honest with you, is the biggest money pit that we have. We put more money into there and get no return. And in the past, I agree with you, there was people out there who, you know, yeah, you can come rent the arena, no problems, for nothing. But they weren't doing it through council. They were just doing it. And the other problem we got is we don't know who's doing what sometimes, because the arena's there and we're down here and council doesn't get all the bookings and everything like that. So what happened in the past is the past. What's going forward is going to have to be changed. And I don't know how to change it because I feel really bad about some of these groups coming forward and we can't accommodate them. I know the Girl Guides want it. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe we can subsidize them. As far as the night goes, I'm sorry about the night, but that's booked. So that we can't do anything about that. And I'm a firm believer in, if you say something to somebody, you do what you're going to do. So that should happen. We got a lot of people in town though who don't want to pay any more taxes. They don't want to pay any more taxes no matter what. You know, so we have that. So, you know, sit here and just have everybody phone us and complain. That's all. But we have to do something going forward. And I like the idea of Jane's, and I like looking at a budget time, and we go over it then. We gotta come up with something because what we got right now, I would say is fair and equitable, but it's not working and it's not what I would call right.
And I think we need staff to delve into making those differences as to who qualifies, who doesn't qualify as part of if we're going to change the fee by law and change who we charge and who we don't, and who gets it for free and who doesn't. I think that needs some deep research, because I think no matter what we do, it's not going to be popular. I think it's one of those decisions that has come before us many times. And right now I'm feeling, I really like the fact the seniors are being, given an opportunity. I fully support that, but I still believe that we have to apply the fee schedule consistently, or we're not being fair to the people who have come before and they've been denied. And I think that we've set the rules for ourselves. We set the parameters for ourselves when we established the fee bylaw. So now I think we own it. And as much as I would love to see the seniors, I'd love to give it to everybody for free, but we can't. We just, from a financial business point of view, we have to be responsible. My rant. Go ahead, Mike.
Just one comment I've got. There's a couple groups that have come to us in the past and said they couldn't afford insurance. They didn't have insurance. Took me 20 minutes on Google to find that there's national associations for a very minor fee. They could get their, that part covered for them by joining a national association for like $100 a year. So a lot of times it's not that we're being unfair. It's some of these groups, and I'm not saying the Girl Guides are one of them because I think you've been doing your homework. There's stuff out there that's available, but people don't go and look it up. They want to come, they want it for free and want to do anything. Whereas if they had to do a little bit more homework, they could have found out, they could have come up with the insurance as the lady over here with the farmer's market, $6 a weekend. Crap, that's free. You can't buy insurance for $6 a weekend by yourself. You have to join an association. So lots of cases, it's available out there. We just have to do, I'm not saying we, because I'm not going to do any digging, but some of these groups are going to have to do more digging and see what they can come up with too.
Okay. One more, Eric.
Just again, back to the case at hand, this user group has provided a copy of their insurance, so there's no cost related to that to the municipality. They have checked that box.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. Can you read us back the motion?
That council approve the request and let them use the space at no cost.
Who is the seconder?
Deputy Mayor Stevens.
I seconded it because I wanted to talk.
Yeah. So are you open to amending this motion then to be for January and March? So
A while
that
ago, you just said January.
I am suggested an amendment to Eric's amendment.
So we're amending it to just January and March.
the motion will be grant Community Care for Central Hastings the request to use the community hall for January and March of 2025 for 2 events, total of 3 hours at no cost.
So Mike, you seconded it, so you'd
Yeah,
have
I
to be
know.
agreeable.
It's during the day. We don't have any extra staff involved or anything. We don't have to do anything.
Correct. It is from 1 till 2:30 on a Wednesday. So with the assumption that the arena is open, there's arena staff there during the day at that time.
I'm amenable to changing it from going forward, just those 2 dates.
Anybody else have any further, Ron?
I agree with it all. I just wondering between now and January if another similar group comes, what are we doing? Sorry. Sorry about that. I'm just wondering, I agree, given what we're doing. But if another group comes forward between now and January, what are we doing? Are we going to review them case by case? If we are, that's fine by me too. But I just know we're going to be.
Yvonne would like to offer her advice.
I would suggest that a motion be considered to direct staff to start the review of the fees bylaw so that we can move forward and hopefully have something. Well, we'd have to do it anyways in order for the budget sessions. We would have to do it before January anyway. You're still going to have to consider one-offs until that bylaw is passed anyway. If there
Thanks,
is.
Yvonne. Go ahead.
Wouldn't that have to be an unrelated notice of motion though, not related to this specific request?
It is somewhat related to this request because it's a request for exemption under that specific bylaw. So if council wants that bylaw review, please give us direction to proceed with the review at this point.
So therefore, another friendly amendment to proceed, let staff proceed to, go ahead.
No, it wouldn't be a friendly amendment. It would be a separate motion. So you'd have to deal with the motion that is currently
Okay, so
on the
I'll have to
table.
Vote on this one and then make another motion. So right now, please read the motion again. If you would, Kristen, just so everybody's clear.
That council approve the request from Community Care for Central Hastings for the dates of January 15th and March 12th, 2025, and let them use the space at no cost.
Thank you. So I'll call it to a vote. You want to speak
I
again?
still have a question about that. Are we setting a precedent? And I agree with the motion. I agree with giving it to them. But that's just one off.
So
What-
Ron, if we vote on this and it fails, then we can put another motion on the floor to Yvonne's recommendation to make a motion to start the process now to review the fee bylaw. So that we can accommodate, or we can at least make a decision about before January for this request.
But if it doesn't fail,
Go ahead, Yvonne.
My suggestion is that a motion be placed on the table regarding the review of the fees would still be out there, and it's up to council whether they want to direct us, so that we still start work on research and reporting to council. So changes could come, but it just won't be immediate.
Okay, so I'm gonna call it to a vote on the motion that Kristen just read. All in favor? That's carried. And do we want another motion to have the bylaw reviewed? Mike? You had a seconder, Ron?
no, I'm not, yeah, okay, sure.
Okay.
I want to
Well,
talk.
we have to have a seconder before we can
Yeah,
debate
right.
it. So, okay, discussion. Jane?
I might be taking your words. What would this review look like?
From the notes that I took while council members were speaking, was to review the types of groups that have contributed to the community, decide what kind of contributions would qualify that, not-for-profits, free, half price, potentially geared to income, just trying to find other municipalities that may have a bylaw that provides their own list of associations that are exempt from certain fee bylaws. So that's where we would start.
Eric? Did you?
I'd like to see public consult on this when that gets developed, but I guess we can wait for the report to come forward first, and then that can be the next step to gather public feedback.
Ron?
Can we also add to this motion if someone comes between now and then, can we consider what we're considering tonight? Because we're setting a precedent. as
Be
far as
on
I'm
an
concerned.
individual basis, I would think.
Right.
Yvonne?
To be general, every bylaw in this municipality is council's bylaw, and if somebody wants an exception to it, they have the absolute power and right to attend a council meeting and request the exemption to that bylaw. So yes, they would be, if they asked, they would be directed that way.
Eric?
And I would add that staff is correctly recommending to user groups to follow that process, to appear before council as a delegation and request an exemption from the user fee bylaw. That is the proper process, and that is what staff is recommending. That's why we have these requests coming forward.
Any other comments? All in favor? That's carried. Next is Angela Hudson, Marmor Community Events Group, regarding the road closure request for the Scarecrow Festival. And the recommendation is the council approve the request to close Forsyth Street on Saturday, October the 5th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the annual Scarecrow Festival and Community Fun event. Can I have a mover, Ron and Eric? Any questions or discussion? Ron?
Just a comment. The club should notify the emergency services on the closure so that they know the date and the time. Because we're doing it down here, I'm going ahead. There's another recommendation. It has that. I think we should add this one to this one as well.
So what are you adding? Sorry?
Club to notify emergency services of the closure.
Oh, okay. Okay, Eric?
It is in the letter here. Once permission for the closure is granted, we will notify in writing the fire department, emergency services, and the OPP so that they may have an alternate route should an emergency arise in the municipality during this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
that
missed-
seems to be covered off.
I just missed it.
All in favor? That's carried. Central Hastings Support Network minutes, that council received the minutes for information. I have a mover and a seconder. Jane and Eric, any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Building Inspection Services Board, July 2024 report, and the recommendation is that council receive the report for information. I have a mover and a seconder. Ron, second. Jane? Any discussion on that report? Go ahead, Mike.
I can hear you. Back to my old rant. Building services, our income so far has been over 80-some thousand dollars this year, which we don't get, sorry. Marmon Lake, $89,053 as of, I'm just trying to see the date here. I think it's the end of August. So that's 2/3 of the way through the year. So we have 1/3 left. So that's another $30,000 approximately if we're taking that. So that's $130,000 a year in fees that we've given up. We do not have a full-time building inspector in Marmon Lake. And I'm pretty sure for $130,000, we can hire a building inspector who would do a lot more for Marmon Lake than what we're getting now. We have to submit a request to leave the BISB by December 31st, I believe, of this year for it to be effective the end of next year.
Yeah.
So I would like to say going forward, I don't know if I can make a motion tonight. Can I make a motion tonight that we advise the BISB that we will be leaving as the end of next year?
You can make the motion.
You already have a motion on the floor that you have to deal with before the, any other motion comes.
I'm sorry. All in favor of receiving for information?
Oh, the income statement? Yeah.
And then you can make your motion, Mike.
Okay, my motion is that we advise the BISB that we will be leaving as of the end of next year.
Can I get a seconder? Jane,
I have a question.
do you want to speak to it?
Yes, so, I'm agreeable to making the motion. I want to make sure that, and that this should come out and, are we making a motion to do a staff report too, or are we just making a motion to let the SIB know? Okay,
I do believe in the past, we've had several staff reports on this and it was put off till this year to make our decision.
okay, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that there was a prior meeting or a prior discussion in that the way the charges were going to be levied from a new contract were going to change, whereas it would be more equitable for Marmora and Lake to remain in the BSIB. Does anybody recall that conversation?
I recall a conversation where they're going to do a distribution of excess funds, but that excess funds last year never got distributed again. So the excess funds are still sitting there, as far as I know, sitting in their kitty. And I'm not sure how much money they got in their kitty, but the last time I looked, it was approximately 700,000 to $1 million.
Mike, can I just suggest that we have a staff report to make a friendly amendment that a staff report come forward for that. And the reason I'm saying that is my understanding is that the BISB, and maybe Ron, you can clarify, that they were reviewing how the funds are being distributed and they were changing the formula for that. Am I correct on that, Ron?
That's correct. They're in the process now of doing that in terms of, you know, the amount of permits each municipality puts in. And they haven't done it yet, but they're in the process of doing it. But I wonder if we should have legal advice before we make this motion, like to make sure that this Tanya was looking after all that. I'm not sure.
That's why I was suggesting a staff report to know where the status is. But Mike, you're the one making the motion, so.
I know, but they were gonna do that last year, but we never got any distribution of any money back last year. The year before, I think we got $35,000 or $45,000 back out of the kitty for the excess funds. And Ron's correct, they were going to review it. And there was talk of a distribution, but they decided not to make any distribution and they still got money in the kitty. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe this will push them to redistribute the money. But my other point is when we had our own building inspector, he was here doing more than just building inspections, because right at the moment, that's all they do is building inspections. Anybody phones and wants advice or wants to go out and look at a lot and get some information as to what they can do with the lot, can't get that. They will not do that. All they do is building inspections. So we're losing a guy who could promote Marmora and Lake going forward. And we're missing a guy, a full-time employee who would be sitting here talking to our citizens, talking to people coming into the area and promoting Marmora and Lake, and still doing all the building inspections. I mean, out of all the building inspections, Marmora and Lake, we've only done 53 in 8 months. And that's $89,000. So 53 permits issued or divided by 8, I can still do it in my head, is about 6.7 permits a month. That gives him a lot of other time to do other things for Marmora and Lake. I think our money would be better spent to have our own guy sitting downstairs doing our own building inspections and promote, even if it costs us something. He would be promoting us, which we don't have right now. And he could be conversant in planning fees and official plan, the whole thing. So I think we're missing the boat.
So you've got a motion on the floor and we've got a seconder. Anybody else want to speak to it, Ron?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, Mike, what you're saying. The only thing that has changed since we had one, is number one, the shortage of inspectors. Number two, any inspector I've talked to, they said, we're not planners, we're not doing nothing but inspecting. That's what they do. They don't do planning. I mean, these guys don't do planning, and you're not gonna get a guy to do planning unless you pay him a lot of money. Not saying I'm not against it either. I'm just saying, let's not be confused that we get a building official, he's gonna do planning, because he may not or likely won't. That's all I wanna clarify that, because those are two different things. And, you know, I could be wrong. There could be a person out there that will do all those things, but you're gonna pay for that too, so.
Jane?
Question, the motion that's on the floor. My understanding is, should it succeed, it is not that we are leaving, it is we are expressing our intent to look at leaving. I just want to make sure of that.
No, my motion is we leaving.
Eric?
I agree that we would be better served by building inspection being done in-house, but for me to support that, I need all the information in a staff report to look at what the costs were. Part of that kitty is money that's been charged to Marmor Lake residents as well, that's sitting in their own reserve. Part of that is ours. If we do withdraw, we definitely need to fight for that. That has to be part of that removal. And I definitely think we need legal consult on this as well. The terms when we had looked at this last time, as basically as soon as you give them notice, you're out. And we were going to be responsible for some of those costs going forward. So I would like to reconfirm that information, because I know there was some unclarity that we've been provided from Sterling, who administers BSIB, because withdrawal terms weren't clear.
We have an absolute contract with the BISB, so whatever the contract says is what
Yeah, but it's
we will have
up
to.
next December.
Yeah,
Why it's got to
and
be
we have
done
to get
now.
it. I think where Mike's coming from, in the contract, in order to withdraw, we have to give a year's notice.
Yep.
And we will be responsible for certain costs, not as much as if we opted out before the term of our contract. But we would lose probably what we have invested in that fund. Mike?
My point, we're only one vote out of all these people that were in there. The last vote was that they distributed all the excess funds equally across everybody. So we had something like 25 or 30% of all fees that went into that kitty. We didn't get that. Everybody got the same. People who had like $20,000 worth of fees for the whole year got 45,000. So they actually made $25,000. We put in 1 year we had 165,000 in there. We didn't get that back. So I agree with you. It is our residents' money. But so far, as long as somebody's sitting on that thing that's getting more money back than they would have paid out, I'm not voting for Marmor Lake.
Eric?
So I think we need a staff report to empower Ron, who is our council member that sits on this committee, to advocate on our behalf, but he can only do so with the correct information or with some type of formal request from council.
Okay, I think we've kind of beat this up enough, but, so Mike, you're standing by your motion to withdraw, give notice that we're going to withdraw from the BISB. Jane, you seconded that. All in favor? That's failed. But if you want to put forth a motion to have a staff report with some legal advice, that you can do that now.
Well, we got to do something. So I make a motion that we have a staff report on what it would cost us to leave the BISB, what it would cost us to hire our own building inspector, and anything else that you feel is pertinent information coming forth.
Okay, can we
Leave it
get a
wide
seconder
open,
for
Kristen.
that motion? Eric? Comments, Jane?
in the, we're October. We're like, is there a way to put a timeline on that staff report?
Yvonne?
If council needs to put the group on notice that they're leaving in December, staff will do its very best efforts to have it to council before the end of December.
That was my feeling.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Next on the agenda, Rosswood Rally of the Tall Pines, request for use of Old Hastings Road. And the recommendation is that council grant permission to the Rally of the Tall Pines to run 2 passes of the rally on the Old Hastings Road on November 23rd, 2024, that the Rally of the Tall Pines agrees to be responsible to repair any damage to the road or property that occurs during the rally, that the manager of transportation be advised of the dates and times in order to complete an inspection before and after the event, and that the municipality of Marmor Lake is not liable for any damages resulting from the lack of guide rails at the approaches to the Glenmire Bridge. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mike, second Ron. Any discussion on that recommendation? Mike?
They've been holding this rally since as long as I've been on council up there. It's up in where I live. And they've never had any problems, and they cover themselves with insurance. They have tons of volunteers. They monitor the course real well. They close down roads when need be. And they do a really good job. So I have no problem with them coming back again.
Yeah, we've approved it every year and we've never had any problems. So all in favor? That's carried. Next is the report from Hastings County Council for August the 9th, 2024. And the recommendation is that council receive the report for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Jane? Second? Can I get a seconder? Eric? Any discussion on that report? All in favor? That's carried. I might just add that this is a new approach that Hastings County, we didn't always get those reports, and I guess they always depended on me to speak to it. But this is kind of nice that we have a written report and that the public get to see the role that Hastings County plays in our community. Next is Rob Flack, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness. Agricultural Workforce Equity and Diversity Initiative Notice. And the recommendation is that council receive the letter for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Jane, second. Ron, any discussion on that correspondence? All in favor? That's carried. Ruth Potts, Marmor Crow Valley Lions Club, regarding the road closure request for Trunk and Treat 2024. The recommendation is that council approve the request of the Marmor Crow Valley Lions Club to close Forsyth Street on October 31st, 2024 from 4:30 to 8 for their Trunk and Treat event, and direct the Lions Club to notify emergency services of the closure. Moved by Ron and second by Eric. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Correspondence, letters of resolution, Joint Health Resolution Campaign, Mel's Pierogies request, Snyder event permit application, and consulting services. And the recommendation is that correspondence of the clerk is hereby received. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Jane, second Eric. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaws, bylaw number 2024-53, Canada Community Building Fund bylaw, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of the municipal funding agreement for the transfer of funds under the Canada Community Building Fund effective April 1st, 2024. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that bylaw? Mike, second. Jane, any discussion on that bylaw? All in favor? That's carried. Next being the bylaw 2024-54, the ICIP transit bylaw. being a bylaw authorizing the municipality of Marmor Lake to enter into an agreement with investing in the Canada Infrastructure Program, public information or public transportation system. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Eric, second? Can I get a seconder? Ron, any discussion on the transit bylaw? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw number 2024-55, interim CAO deputy clerk appointment bylaw, being a bylaw to appoint an interim chief administrative officer, deputy clerk for the corporation of the municipality of Marmor Lake. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Mike and Jane, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Does anybody have any announcements or notice of motions? Eric?
Sure, just a few announcements. A couple thank you to the organizers of the Terry Fox Run that took place at the fairgrounds. I participated with my spouse and my dog. It was a hot day, but we had a great time, and it was good to see several $1,000s raised for the Terry Fox Foundation from the Marmor Run. Thank you as well, and a reminder, the last car show of the year is this Thursday. Thank you to all the volunteers that make that event happen. It's a great event that bring people into our downtown and guests coming from other communities into our core. So thank you for all the hard work there. The Marmor Lake Public Library is hosting a 4-part personal finance course starting on October 9th. It covers topics such as fraud and scams, creating a personal budget, tips for reducing costs, and saving and investing. The program is free. You can contact the library to sign up, and there's also more details on the library Facebook page. Thank you to everyone who contributed and decorated the downtown with the fall decor in preparation for the Scarecrow Festival by the Marmor Lake Events Group. I look forward to seeing everyone this Saturday from 10 till 4 at this annual festival. There will be live music, lots of kids activities, pumpkin carving, a kids talent show, and a vendor market. So I invite all residents to attend.
Thanks, Eric. Jane?
I would like to make an announcement in relation to the Facebook post concerning Tai Chi discs that were installed in the park. I know information has been released to ratepayers who asked questions. So I would just like to make the formal information that the Tai Chi discs were actually ordered in 2018. They weren't ordered just now and installed just now. The cost of the Tai Chi discs was covered from that time, and they have been installed to allow for accessibility for people who are less mobile than others. And it's an example of Marmor on its way to being a more accessible municipality. I've always been the kind of person who is trying to keep people more active, an active lifestyle. And I think installing the Tai Chi the discs is part of that promotion, as well as having it in the park where young children can be active as well. So I just wanted to get that information out there on the Tai Chi discs.
Thanks, Jane. Anyone else? Being none, thank you. Next is on the agenda is the confirming bylaw number 2024-56, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on the first day of October 2024. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Eric and Mike, any discussion on that bylaw? All in favor? And that's carried. Need a motion to adjourn, Ron? Second, Mike, and we're officially adjourned according to this clock at about 8:03. Thank you, everyone, for attending.